guys, welcome to another episode of Adulting with Hannah. I'm Hannah, here today to do a year in literature. I'm going to be going through everything I read this year. I actually have finished exactly 30 books in 2017, and I'm on my 31st book, but I'm not going to finish it by the end of the year, which is 2 days from now. Today is the 30th. Yeah, so tomorrow's New Year's Eve. I'm just gonna go through what I read and kind of talk about it, and maybe you'll find something new that you want to read in 2018. So at the beginning of 2017, I kind of went on a nostalgia run and reread a lot of books that I read when I was in middle school and high school, which, being 24, that's kind of strange. At first I was like, I don't know, I might like read one and then be bored. I got so much out of it. These were books that I truly loved when I was a child, and reading them again, I got so much more out of them, and it was great. I highly recommend, if you had a series or a book that you really loved when you were in middle school or high school or even younger, just read it. Like, it's amazing how much more you get out of it the second time around. I started with Artemis Fowl, which is actually kind of cool because they announced a few months ago, after I had already reread all the books, that they were going to be turning them into a movie. And actually just, I think like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, they announced the cast. So the film is going to be directed by Kenneth Branagh. If it does well, they'll do the whole series. There's 8 books in the series, and I'm really excited because these were my favorite book series when I was young, other than Harry Potter. Harry Potter trumps all, but Artemis Fowl is great, especially for middle school age kids. I loved it. So there's 8 books. I read all 8 at the beginning of the year. So Artemis Fowl is a prodigy. He's very intelligent. He's young. He starts out in the first book 11 years old, and then it gets a year older until the end. He's 19, 18. He finds out about a underground fairy community and exploits them for their money to save his father. And stuff happens, and then there's 8 books, so it's really good. Okay, next, the Shadow Children series by Margot Peterson. There's 7 books in that series. I read this when I was in middle school as well, and they're really good. It's about a near future America, I think, where there are too many people, not surprising, and they have put a limit on reproduction, so you can only have 2 children, and it's about a boy who is a 3rd son in a family, so he has to hide all the time. He discovers that there are other kids like him, and stuff happens. So it's called the Shadow Children series, but the books are called Among the Hidden, Among the Imposters, Among the Betrayed, and so on. There's 7 books in that series, and they're fantastic. This is like, when I first read them, I thought they were good. Reading them now, I'm like, wow, this is like a real look at how America could be in a short amount of time, even in our lifetimes, just having too many people. It definitely talks a lot about the corruption in government and how money can pretty much buy anything and blah, blah, blah. So it's really good. And I know it's for probably middle school age kids reading level wise, but I got a lot out of it, and they're really good the second time around. Okay, number 16. So that was 15 books total. And then at number 16, Ready Player One by Ernest Cline is a phenomenal book. Michael actually got it for Christmas last year, and I decided to read it, but I read it before he even finished it. But oh my gosh, such a good book. And then they announced a few months later that they were making it into a movie. Really, really excited. That movie's coming out actually pretty soon in 2018, being directed by Steven Spielberg. If you haven't seen the trailers for that, definitely watch those, because so excited. I definitely want to read the book again before the movie comes out. Such a good book. It's about the future, and everybody basically exists their lives in virtual reality, and this guy, the main character, has to solve these puzzles in the virtual reality world to win the fortune of the guy who created the virtual reality world, who has since passed. It's really good. Okay, 3 books up next I read by Scott Westerfield from the Uglies series, Uglies, Pretties, and Specials. It's a trilogy, but there's a 4th book called Extras. I didn't really like Extras as much. It's about a different main character, but these books are, now that they're making Artemis Fowl, are my #1 book that I would like for them to turn into a movie series, because it is just so relevant right now. Basically, in the future, there's a lot, I read a lot of dystopian novels, you'll notice. You are ugly until you turn 16, and they give you this major surgery to completely restructure your whole body to make you pretty. but they find out that it also changes your brain a little bit. And so, adventures. So such a good series. It's a lot about government manipulation and body image kind of melded together, and that's just like super relevant right now. I read these books in high school and I still love them. I think I've read them all like 3 times now. I love them. Okay, then I wanted a little Harry Potter run. I decided to read the 5th, 6th, and 7th Harry Potter books. Order of the Phoenix, Half-Blood Prince, Deathly Hallows. If you haven't read Harry Potter, you must have a really good reason, and I support that, but I think you should. I think they're great. I don't know why I only decided to read 5, 6, and 7, but that was just where I started. So I read those. So that's number 20, 21, and 22. Book number 23 that I read was a series that I had started in high school. Kind of going back to high school books again. I'd started it in high school, but I'd never finished the trilogy. So it's the Delirium series by Lauren something, I don't remember. There's 3 books: Delirium, Pandemonium, and Requiem. And then there's also, oh, I didn't write them all down. There's 3 more small books that go into detail about kind of the past of some of the characters. But basically, those books are about a dystopian future in which they have decided that love is actually a disease and they cure you of it. So when you turn, I think 16 or something, they give you a surgery that makes you not feel love anymore. They call it amor deliria nervosa, and all the symptoms of love. It's really interesting. They have this whole like scientific thing about it. All the symptoms of love, like irrationality and accelerated heart rate and all that stuff, they've decided are a disease. So basically you just get cured of that. You don't feel love anymore. They match you with somebody and you have a family, and then it's just how things go. This girl decides she doesn't want to be cured because she falls in love and da-da-da. It's really good. Yeah, Delirium, Pandemonium, and Requiem. Read all those. I think previously I'd read, in high school, I read Delirium and then like half Pandemonium, and then, I don't know, never finished it. So finished those, really good. And then there's 3 books about, side books about the characters. They're not super long, but I read those as well. So that's technically through 29. So I read a little more than 30, but whatever. I counted this all as one. Number 26 was all 3 of those little excerpts. And then I started getting really into the mystery thriller type books that are popular now. I don't know if you'd call them mystery thriller. Mystery books where, like, you know, something bad happened and then you kind of get all the details throughout the book and then you finally figure out everything at the end. And I started with Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins, I think. Is that who it's by? I don't know. It was a really popular book and I kept seeing it everywhere on like top book websites like Barnes & Noble and stuff, and I finally read it. Really good. I think there's a book or a movie with Emily Blunt, and I haven't watched it yet. I found that with books like that, if you read the book and then immediately watch the movie, you kind of only pay attention to the dissimilarities, so I waited a while to watch the movie. So it's been a few months, so I might as well watch that movie. And then I saw a lot of good things about Big Little Lies on HBO, so I decided to read the book. Really good book. It's a lot different than the show. I wouldn't say a lot different. It's quite different from the show. I started watching the show right after I finished the book, and I had to stop because I kept just being like, they're not in Australia. They're not in kindergarten. This and this and this, and that's just stupid. So I'll wait a while and then watch the show. So that got me really into Liane Moriarty. She's written quite a few books. So she wrote Big Little Lies. So then I read Truly Madly Guilty, which is great. It's about a family who a tragedy has happened. You don't quite know what until like almost the end of the book, and it's causing strife amongst multiple families and their children and things, and so you slowly find out what happened. So that's pretty cool. And then Into the Water, I actually think I read before Truly Madly Guilty. I just wrote them down at the same time. Into the Water is another Paula Hawkins book. She wrote Girl on the Train, and it's about this small town where lots of people have committed suicide in this lake, and the most recent one is kind of suspicious. So they kind of figure out what happened with that. So it's kind of like a mystery thriller type of thing. And that was the last one I read. I'm currently reading The Husband's Secret by Liane Moriarty. Hopefully I'll finish that soon. But that's where I'm at. So those are the 30-ish books I read this year. There was not one that I read that I didn't like, mostly because I would say over 50% of them I'd already read before. Definitely in 2018 on my list for books, I want to finish all the Liane Moriarty books. I think there's like 7, and I've read 3. Well, I'm working on the 3rd. So I'm gonna read all those. I'm gonna read the first part of the Harry Potter series, or maybe just reread the whole series. I don't know. And find something new to read, because that's all I have on my list right now. So if you guys have any recommendations of series or books that you think I should read, please leave them down below, and I'll try to read them in 2018. I try to read 20 to 30 books a year. I did good this year, I did 30. Those first 2 series were pretty easy to get through because I'd read them before and they're young reading levels, so I read them pretty quickly. I think I finished all the Artemis Fowl books in just a couple weeks. So they're not super long, but they're really good. So yeah, please, please, please leave book recommendations in the box below and tell me if you've read any of these books. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, thanks for watching. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. Happy New Year! Bye!